Hi, it's Shelly, and welcome to your introduction to Yoga Nidra. This is the path of awareness and surrender. To start, we'll talk about the paradox of the word Yoga Nidra itself. Yoga means union, alignment, or intentional action, and Nidra means sleep. So Yoga Nidra, yoga sleep, is already a paradox. It's the action of non-action, the union that happens when everything else dissolves. Today we enter into a practice that lives in the tension between the opposites. To say Yoga Nidra is to speak contradiction, and in that contradiction lives the mystery. Most of our spiritual life is spent trying to do something, to meditate better or more, to breathe deeper, to stretch farther, to become more woke or awake. Yoga Nidra turns all of that inside out. It asks, what if awakening happens through rest? What if the most sacred action is learning how to let go? In Sanskrit, the word yoga starts with the roots huge, to yoke, to join, to harness. It means join, but join what exactly? The Yoga Sutras give us a hint when they tell us Sthira Sukha Asanam, that yoga is the balance of effort and surrender. We join these two seemingly opposing things, effort and ease, mind and body, movement and breath. Yoga is a practice of non-duality, of honoring the divinity in everything. It's the conscious act of bringing together body, mind, and spirit. Nidra, on the other hand, means sleep, but not the unconscious kind. In the oldest commentaries, Nidra is described as a state of rest, where awareness remains present even as the senses withdraw. Pratyahara. When these two words meet, yoga and nidra, we're offered the yoga of conscious sleep. As many teachers call it, the art of awakening through rest. You can think of this as the bridge between effort and surrender, sthira and sukha, between doing and being, between the external yoga of movement and the internal yoga of pure awareness. In this space, the body sleeps, the mind dreams, and a deeper witness remains awake. That witnessing presence, the awareness that knows I am resting, is the field we call Yoga Nidra. Before we move into techniques, it's important to understand where this practice comes from. Because Yoga Nidra is not a new wellness trend or a modern guided map. It is an ancient, cosmic, and profoundly symbolic practice. Its roots stretch into the oldest stories of the world, the myths of Vishnu, the hymns of the Upanishads, and the verses of the Tantras, each pointing towards a truth our nervous systems are only now starting to remember. That rest is a sacred doorway to consciousness. So we'll journey back into myth, into creation itself, to see where this teaching first appeared. I always love to talk about mythic origins. And here we'll talk about the goddess who dreams the world. Before there was sound or sun or form, there was an ocean of limitless potential. And upon that ocean, the divine rested in Yoga Nidra. When we trace Yoga Nidra back through time, we find her not as a method, but as a goddess, the living embodiment of sleep, rest, and creative potential. Kinetic energy, just waiting to be tapped into. She's the stillness between heartbeats, the pause between inhale and exhale, the dark, fertile space before creation even began. The story is around Vishnu's cosmic sleep. In the Mahabharata and the Puranas, Vishnu, who is the preserver of the universe, rests upon a serpent, Ananta, on an endless ocean. From his navel blooms a lotus, and on that lotus sits Brahma, who one day will rule worlds. But Vishnu cannot awaken until the goddess herself, Yoga Nidra, withdraws her spell of cosmic sleep. The demons Madhu and Kaitaba rise from primordial waters with the intention to destroy creation before it even begins. And the gods cried out, "Awaken, Vishnu! Awake from your Yoga Nidra!" And the goddess stirred. Her power moved through Vishnu, and awareness returned. The demons were defeated. In this myth, Yoga Nidra is not mere rest, she's Shakti. She's the divine force that veils and unveils consciousness. Without her, even a god cannot act. She's both the sleep that conceals and the sleep that reveals. A union of opposites. When we practice Yoga Nidra, we're entering that same cosmic field, the space between destruction and rebirth, the moment when the universe inhales again. Later on in the Devi Mahatmya, which is around 6th century, the text calls her Mahamaya Yoga Nidra, the great illusion who puts the worlds to rest. She's the creative sleep of the mother who dreams galaxies into being. And when she awakens, the force of balance and wisdom return to the cosmos. When she sleeps, everything dissolves back into the womb of potential. Think of that for a moment, that every time you lie down for Yoga Nidra, you are symbolically returning to that primordial womb, the same darkness from which the universe itself was born. And think of that darkness not as something scary or spooky, but as something healing. There's so much symbolism around rest. Across these stories, Nidra carries layered meanings. She is rest as regeneration, the pause that allows creation to renew itself. She is rest as illusion, the veil that hides our true nature. And she is rest as awakening, the stillness from which awareness rises. In psychological language, she's the liminal space between conscious and unconscious mind. In mythic language, she's the goddess of thresholds, holding the keys to both dreaming and waking. She is also the feminine face of consciousness. The tales remind us that awareness itself has a feminine face, the mother of creation. In Yoga Nidra, we're not conquering sleep, we're courting her. We're learning to rest inside her arms without losing awareness, to let her carry us into the deep while keeping the flame of consciousness alive. When Vishnu sleeps on the cosmic ocean, he represents the aspect of self that trusts existence so completely it can rest inside it. Yoga Nidra teaches us that kind of trust, to let go so fully that we awaken into wholeness. From myth, we move into philosophy, because these stories were never just stories. They were mirrors for inner states of consciousness. The sages of the Upanishads and Tantras took the symbols of divine sleep and turned them into precise maps of awareness. That's where we'll go next. The philosophical roots are described or categorized into the 4 states and the 5 sheaths. And this is where we start to get into deep yoga philosophy and where the accompanying PDFs will help you remember. The myths gave us the poetry of consciousness, and the Upanishads give us its geometry. When the ancient seers turned inward, they began to map the terrain that Vishnu and the goddess had already shown them through story. They asked, What is the sleep in which the body rests, but awareness remains? And their answers became the foundation of Yoga Nidra as philosophy and practice. The Mandukya Upanishad outlines the 4 states of consciousness. This short but astonishing text describes the consciousness as 1, Jagrat, which is the waking state, where awareness moves outward through the senses. Svapana, which is the dreaming state, where awareness turns inward to the mind's images. Susupti, deep, dreamless sleep, where awareness collapses into undifferentiated rest. And Turiya, literally the 4th, the field of pure witnessing that underlies all the others. Turiya is not another state you enter, it's the awareness present in all states, the same consciousness that knows waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. Yoga Nidra is a doorway into Turiya. We travel consciously from the first 3 layers towards that underlying present, learning to stay awake even as we move through sleep. When we rest in Turiya, we are not spacing out or drifting away. You are profoundly awake within rest, what the sages called Santa Manasa, the quiet mind of realization. The 5 koshas are first outlined that we know of in the Taittiriya Upanishad. This map emerges and is called the Panka Kosha, the 5 sheaths. Pancha Mahabhuta, right? The 5 elements. Panka or Pancha Kosha, the 5 sheaths that veil the self. Each sheath is both a layer of identity and a doorway back to wholeness. I'll describe these to you many times, and your PDF images will back me up as Russian stacking dolls, one sheath inside the other. The first is Annamaya Kosha, the physical body sustained by food and matter. The second is Pranamaya Kosha, the energy body made up of breath and prana, or life force. The Manomaya Kosha, which is the emotional and mental body woven from thought and feeling. The Vijnanamaya Kosha, which is the wisdom body where intuition and discernment arise. And finally, Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss body, radiant, subtle, and expansive, the connection to the whole universe. We will dive into each one of these in depth individually, but for now, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya Kosha. Yoga Nidra guides awareness sequentially through these 5 sheaths. As you rest, you first feel the physical body. You sense the breath. You observe emotion and thought. You taste inner knowing, and finally, you dissolve into bliss, pure awareness. Yet even that bliss is not the final goal. It too arises and fades within the ever-present witness. The journey through the koshas is both systematic and sacred. Each layer corresponds to an aspect of human wholeness, and by becoming aware of them all, we remember what the texts have told us from the beginning. We are not the layers themselves. We are the consciousness that illuminates them. My teacher, Don Miguel Ruiz, says something similar all the time. You're not your body. You're not your mind. You're not your thoughts. You're the force that animates it. And he's talking about these koshas, about these states of being. Yoga Nidra is a practice of awareness. And here lies the subtle paradox again. Yoga Nidra is a practice of doing nothing. The mind is trained to remain aware while the body and the senses surrender. It's the art of allowing, not controlling. And when effort softens, awareness expands. When identification loosens, the self is revealed. In the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, Shiva tells Devi that liberation can be found by observing the interval between waking and sleeping. That interval, that tiny, almost imperceptible interval, is the essence of Yoga Nidra. It's the crack in the doorway through which light enters the dark. Now that we understand the philosophical architecture, the 4 states, and the 5 sheaths, we can look at how these timeless insights evolved into the modern techniques that we teach today. The 10 steps of Yoga Nidra that the lineage has carried forward. And that's what we'll do in our next part together, is look at the evolution of the practice from scriptures to modern lineages. But for now, know that you've got 5 sheaths and you're going to experience Yoga Nidra through all of them. I'll see you soon. Welcome back. I hope you've had a moment to absorb our intro video and you are ready to tackle our next subject, which is the evolution of this practice, the evolution from the scriptures to the modern lineages. Every living tradition breathes. It takes the wisdom of the ancients and then exhales it into new forms that meet the needs of the moment. We're not talking about appropriation, right? Still honoring all of the lineage and where everything came from, but then applying it to our lives. We are not living in a cave. We have a modern world to navigate. So now we need to use these ancient practices to come into something modern that we can use for our lives today. Yoga Nidra, as we know it today, was not invented in a single place or moment. It unfolded, a stream of awareness flowing from ancient philosophy into embodied practice. For thousands of years, the ideas we explored in the Upanishads, the 4 states of consciousness and the 5 sheaths, remained primarily philosophical. They were subjects of meditation, not yet step-by-step practice that we can guide in modern classes today. That evolution began in the early 20th century as yoga itself was being reborn. In the 1960s, Swami Satchidananda Saraswati, the founder of the Bihar School of Yoga, codified a structure method that he made these ancient insights more teachable. He saw how difficult it was for modern practitioners to access deep states of meditation directly. So he developed Yoga Nidra as a bridge, a methodical descent into the layers of itself, blending relaxation, visualization, and Salkalpa. Satchidananda's approach was inspired by the Tantras, especially practices of nyasa, the ritual placement of awareness or mantra in specific parts of the body. In nyasa, the practitioner mentally touches each body region with sacred sound. Yoga Nidra adapted this as a body scan, inviting awareness to flow from part to part in a rhythmic sequence. He then layered in ancient tools, breath awareness, opposites, imagery, and Salkalpa, and created what we now call the 10 steps of Yoga Nidra. So the 10 steps, as I will teach them in this course, are preparation and intention, number 1. Settling the body and choosing a Salkalpa. Salkalpa, a heartfelt desire. Number 2, rotation of consciousness, the body scan, the modern echo of nyasa, moving through the body. Number 3, awareness of breath, pranamaya kosha, prana as the bridge between body and mind. Number 4, awareness of opposites, balancing pairs such as heaviness and lightness, heat and coolness. Number 5, awareness of emotion, recognizing feeling states without judgment. Number 6, visualization, symbolic imagery that speaks to the unconscious. Number 7, repetition of Salkalpa, planting the seed again in the fertile field of rest. Number 8, return to waking awareness, transitioning slowly through the layers. Number 9, integration, noticing the residue of stillness. And number 10, embodiment, living the awareness off the mat. Satchidananda called this psychic sleep, a term not meant to diminish its sacredness, but to highlight its psychological precision. He believed Yoga Nidra could dissolve deep tensions, muscular, emotional, and karmic, by guiding the consciousness through layers of being. His recordings and manuals spread worldwide, and soon the practice reached therapists, educators, and meditators far beyond his ashram walls. So enter Richard Miller and iRest, which is the bridge to modern psychology. In the late 20th century, Richard Miller, who I've taken several courses with, he's a psychologist and a yogi. Richard Miller encountered Satchidananda's work and recognized its potential for trauma healing and for svadhyaya, or self-inquiry. He did years of clinical research with veterans and survivors and developed an iRest protocol, bringing Yoga Nidra into hospitals, schools, and the U.S. Department of Defense and the VA. Miller reframed the ancient steps in modern language: body sensing, welcoming emotions, awareness of opposites, witnessing consciousness. But the heart of the practice remains the same: to rest deeply in awareness itself. Where Satchidananda spoke of karmic impression, Richard Miller speaks of neural pathways. Where the Upanishads speak of turiya, Miller speaks of non-dual presence. In this way, Yoga Nidra became both a science of consciousness and a practice of nervous system repair. The brilliance for Richard Miller's approach is not in changing the essence, but in making it accessible to the modern nervous system. It's trauma-informed, inclusive, and secular, but remains deeply spiritual. That, my friends, is also how you can modernize something without appropriating it. So let's think of Yoga Nidra like a continuum. The lineage unfolds like this. The Upanishads give us a map of consciousness. The Tantras give us methods of embodiment. Satchidananda gave us a system. Richard Miller gave us a bridge to contemporary psychology and science, empirical evidence. And now, as teachers and facilitators, we continue to evolve it, integrating energetics, trauma awareness, social justice, and accessibility, allowing the practice to serve this moment in time. Yoga Nidra has always adapted to meet the collective need. In times of war, it offers peace. In times of burnout, it offers rest. In times of fragmentation, it offers wholeness. What remains consistent, constant across millennia is the invitation to awaken through surrender, to rest in the arms of the goddess while staying awake to her dream. Now that we've explored the roots and the lineage, we'll return to the inner architecture, the Salkalpa, and the energetic triad of Icha, Kriya, and Jnana, the three divine powers awakened through intention. So take a break, and in our next video, we'll move straight into Salkalpa, the vow of the heart. I can't wait to share it with you. Welcome back. Let's talk about Salkalpa. Salkalpa means the vow of the heart, or a heartfelt desire. In Yoga Nidra, we plant a seed in the field of the soul. That seed is called Salkalpa. It is a vow that remembers who we already are. When we speak of Salkalpa, we're not talking about a resolution or a wish. We're talking about sacred intention, a vow made at the deepest level of consciousness. When the mind is clear and quiet and the heart is clear and open. The Sanskrit roots tell the story beautifully. San means connection with highest truth. Kalpa means vow, or a rule to be followed above all others. So Salkalpa is a vow to live in alignment with your highest truth. It's not something you create from surface. It is something you remember from soul. Your Sankalpa is already with you. It's like a seed lying dormant beneath the soil of your consciousness. Yoga Nidra creates the conditions for that seed to sprout. Quiet, spacious, receptive awareness. This is why we repeat it at the beginning and towards the end of every practice. At the threshold between waking and sleep, the subconscious is fertile and open. Whatever is planted there grows towards manifestation, not because we force it, but because we're aligned with it. A true Sankalpa always serves your dharma, your reason for being. It arises not from the ego, but from the essence. It may sound simple. I am free. I am love. I am whole. But its power lies in its truth. When you repeat it, you're not trying to make it real. You're remembering it already is. In the tantric view, when a Sankalpa is true, it awakens 3 divine powers that already exist in you. Icha Shakti, the will and energy to create. Kriya Shakti, the capacity for right action. And Jnana Shakti, the wisdom to know how and when to act. These are the same powers said to reside within the goddess herself. When your Sankalpa arises from Dharma, not desire, not grasping, not what you think someone else thinks you should desire, it comes already encoded with the energy, action, and wisdom to fulfill itself. You don't have to force it into being. You simply align with it, again and again through practice. When you're aligned with your Sankalpa, as in The Alchemist, the world conspires to support it. Richard Miller writes, when the true Sankalpa comes in, we awaken these 3 divine powers. You don't have to ask where you'll find the will to do it. The energy and wisdom are already there. In the Yoga Nidra state, brainwaves slow, the body rests, and the door to the subconscious opens. This is the inner soil where Sankalpa takes root. Each time you plant it, you water it with awareness. Over time, it begins to shape not only your thoughts, but your nervous system, rewiring you toward alignment, presence, and purpose. From a subtle body perspective, the Sankalpa lives at the intersection of Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss body, and Vijnanamaya Kosha, the wisdom body. It bridges joy and insight, love and clarity. It's the moment when the soul remembers why it chose to incarnate. As facilitators, one of our sacred roles is to help students uncover, not invent, their Sankalpa. This means guiding them past performative goals. I will meditate every day, or I will stop being anxious, and into heart-level truth. A few questions you can ask are, you want to invite reflection. You can ask things like, what does your heart most long to remember? Who are you when all striving falls away? What quality of being do you want to embody, not achieve? And let the answer arise from silence. It might come as a phrase, an image, or a knowing, but when it lands, keep it private at first, like a seed still under the soil. You'll know it's true because it feels like home. A Sankalpa is not a one-time statement. It's a lifelong relationship. We'll return to it again and again, just as we return to the mat, the breath, the body, and the heart. Each practice of Yoga Nidra becomes a rehearsal for living in alignment. You're not manifesting from the mind. You're remembering from the soul. That remembrance slowly shapes your words, your choices, and presence until your entire life becomes an expression of your sacred vow. To live your Sankalpa is to live your Yoga Nidra, to awake inside the dream of your life. In my next video, I'll offer a meditation to uncover your Salkalpa. And then we'll move into our next session. So far, we've explored the mythic, the philosophical, the practical, the goddess who dreams the world, the maps of consciousness, the lineage that carried them, and the vow, the Salkalpa, that anchors them in our lives. And so next, after our meditation to discover Salkalpa, we'll turn to the essence that threads them all together, awareness and surrender, the paradox at the heart of Yoga Nidra itself. I'm recording the Salkalpa separately so that you don't have to listen to me talk. It will just be the meditation. I can't wait to see what you think and to discover your own Salkalpa. Let's discover your Salkalpa. If you'd like to sit, you can sit, or if you are in a space where you can lie down, your couch, your bed, the floor, lie down. This is a meditation of remembering. Close your eyes. Let your breath move in softly, like a tide returning home. Let it leave the same way. Gentle, inevitable, true. Bring your awareness to your heart. Not the organ that beats, but the altar inside it. The place where your deepest knowing lives. Let your mind grow quiet. Let your body become heavy and luminous at once. And now, listen. Salkalpa is not a wish, nor a goal. It is a remembering. The soul's quiet vow whispered before you were born. It does not ask, what do you want to do, but rather, who have you always been? Breathe in to that question. Who have you always been? Let images arise. Words, sensations, the way sunlight falls through leaves, the sounds of laughter, the pull toward what feels sacred and alive. Who have you always been? Do not force it. Let it find you, like a river finds its way to the sea. When the whisper comes, a word, a phrase, a feeling, receive it. Who have I always been? Let it settle in your chest like a glowing seed. Who have I always been? Repeat softly, I remember who I am. I remember why I am here. This is your Salkalpa, not something to achieve, but something to live into. Carry it in your breath. Let every practice, every choice be a way of saying yes to this truth. Begin to feel your breath deepen. Inhale gently through your nose. Exhale softly through your mouth. Sense your body again, the weight of it, the warmth of it, the way it rests upon the earth. Feel the edges of your being return, the skin, the fingers, the space around you. Let your awareness widen like dawn spreading across the sky. Your Salkalpa still glows within, a seed of truth, a light that knows its own way home. Breathe it into every cell. Let it move from your heart to your skin, from your skin to the world. Begin to wiggle your fingers and toes and circle your wrists and ankles. When you're ready, stretch your arms overhead and take one last full living breath. As you exhale, let your eyes slowly open and let the light return. Carry this knowing with you, not as something fragile, but as a quiet power that will guide you through everything that follows. Who have I always been? Namaste. Welcome back. Now that you have a Salkalpa, it's time for us to dive a little bit deeper into awareness and surrender and the art of doing nothing. Yoga Nidra is not about falling asleep. It's about waking up to the awareness that never sleeps. The deeper we travel into this work, the more we begin to feel the pulse of the paradox. Effort and effortlessness, awareness and release, discipline and grace. Yoga Nidra invites us into a radical kind of rest, one that's been both deeply somatic and profoundly spiritual. The practice begins by settling the body, but very quickly, the work becomes an act of letting go, a surrender of the usual need to control or improve. We stop doing Yoga Nidra and we start being Yoga Nidra. In the 8-limb path, Ashtanga, the 5th limb is pratyahara, the withdrawal of the senses. Not suppression, not avoidance, but a neutral, natural turning inward. Yoga Nidra is pratyahara in its most refined form. Your eyes close, your body stills, your breath slows, and awareness begins to move from the outer world to the inner landscape. We learn to rest awareness or sensation without grasping it, to observe the flicker of thought without chasing it, and to feel emotion arise and dissolve without commentary. This is the art of non-doing. We rest in awareness, and awareness begins to rest in itself. What happens next is subtle. As the body slips towards sleep, consciousness expands rather than contracts. This is the doorway into the witness state, the seer, the part of you that is awake inside rest, the same presence that watches dreams unfold at night. You could call it the soul's steady gaze. In this state, the nervous system reorganizes itself. The brain shifts into theta and delta waves. The parasympathetic nervous system takes lead. Muscle tension, emotional charge, mental noise begin to dissolve. But instead of drifting away, you remain present. You're not escaping life. You're becoming intimate with the quietest layers of life. Think of this like the alchemy of awareness. In Yoga Nidra, awareness itself becomes medicine. Whatever it touches, breath, sensation, memory, emotion begins to unwind. You don't have to fix the contraction, you only have to witness it. Awareness metabolizes what the mind cannot. Modern neuroscience confirms what the sages intuited. When awareness is sustained without reactivity, the amygdala calms, the prefrontal cortex lights up, and new neural pathways of safety and connection can be formed. You can literally reshape your brain through rest. This is why Yoga Nidra is sometimes called integrative rest. It restores integration at every level: psychological, emotional, and spiritual. It teaches us that rest is not the opposite of awakening. It is the ground of it. The moment of surrender in Yoga Nidra is not collapse, it's communion. It's the point when the small self stops striving and falls back into the larger field of being. The goddess takes over. The breath breathes itself. I say a lot in my nidras, feel your breath breathing you. The witness watches itself being watched. A little bit of a mind fuck, right? In that moment, you may feel yourself dissolve. Boundaries can blur, time can disappear, and you can sense a vast stillness that is neither waking nor dreaming. This is the Turiya state of the Mandukya Upanishad, the fourth, the awareness that pervades all states but belongs to none. From the outside, it looks like sleep. Inside, it's the most luminous wakefulness imaginable. As teachers of Yoga Nidra, our task is not to cause the state. We can't. Our task is to create the conditions, the container in which it can arise. That means cultivating our own inner stillness before guiding others. Trusting silence as much as language. And remembering that each student's nervous system will enter the practice in its own way and time. We can guide the body into safety, the breath into rhythm, and the mind into curiosity. And then we step back. The rest is grace. When students ask, did I fall asleep? I often say it doesn't matter. What matters is that something deeper in you stayed awake. That is again the paradox of Yoga Nidra. Sleep becomes the vehicle of awakening. Doing nothing becomes the most transformative thing you can do. So we arrive again at the same teaching the myth offered. Vishnu resting on the cosmic ocean, the goddess dreaming him awake. The inner gesture of Yoga Nidra, the trust that allows consciousness to float on the waters of being. From that stillness, new worlds are born. From that silence, new stories arise. And when we wake, we bring the fragrance of that stillness with us into the world. Awareness woven into action, surrender woven into service. To close our first chapter here, we turn to integration and awakening through rest. Yoga Nidra begins as a practice, but over time, it becomes a way of being. Awake to life, at rest in the truth of who you are. We've journeyed far already today, through story and scripture, science and stillness. But in the end, Yoga Nidra always brings us home to the same place: awareness resting in itself. The goddess who dreams the world, the Upanishadic sages who mapped the states of consciousness, the teachers who translated their wisdom for modern hearts, all point us towards the same recognition. You are not your thoughts. You are not even the one who thinks them. You're not your emotions. You're not even the one who feels them. You're not this body. You're not this breath. You are the awareness behind all of it. The vast, unbroken stillness that was there before birth and will be there long after the body exhales its last breath. When you practice Yoga Nidra, you remember that the truth is not an idea, but an experience. You feel yourself dissolve into that ocean of being, not lost, but found. Integration means more than simply waking up and rolling out your mat. It means carrying the qualities of Nidra, presence, receptivity, surrender, into every corner of your life. When you listen to a friend, listen to the way you listen to the breath in Yoga Nidra, without fixing, without rushing, without needing it to be right. When you walk the way awareness travels in a body scan, step by step, sensation by sensation, fully inhabiting the here and now. When life feels heavy, remember the practice of opposites, that peace and chaos, grief and grace, all exist within the same vast field of consciousness. Your life becomes your meditation. Your rest becomes your activism. Your awareness becomes your offering. This is how Yoga Nidra changes the world, not by putting everyone to sleep, but by teaching us to wake up within the collective dream, to meet it with steadiness, empathy, and luminous presence. Each time you return to the cushion or the mat, your Salkalpa is waiting. It's not a to-do list. It's a remembrance. Whisper it again. The vow of the heart, the call of your Dharma. When you live from that vow, you become a vessel of Icha, Kriya, and Jnana, the divine will, action, and wisdom flowing through you into the world. And that is the deeper promise of this practice, to awaken so completely that even in rest, you are of service, to surrender so completely that your life itself becomes the mantra. I am awake, I am at peace, I am whole. As we close out our first module together, let's do a little mini practice. Close your eyes for just a moment. Feel your breath as it is. The rise and fall, the wave, and the return. Feel the contact of your body against the earth, this living planet that holds you in its own great Yoga Nidra, breathing and dreaming you into being. Notice awareness itself, spacious, quiet, limitless. Notice that you don't have to hold it. It's holding you. Rest there for just a few breaths. Rest as awareness. Nothing to do and nowhere to go. When you're ready, whisper your Salkalpa, once silently within, once softly aloud. Let it move through your heart, through your nervous system, through the field around you. Now open your eyes, but keep the stillness with you. Carry it into your next conversation, your next class, your next act of courage. Carry it like a quiet flame that doesn't need to shout to be seen. Yoga Nidra is not an escape from the world. It's a training for returning to it. Awake, rested, radiant with awareness. As you teach and share this practice, remember, you are not giving people sleep. You are giving them the permission to awaken gently the invitation to remember that rest is holy and that consciousness is vast enough to hold it all. May this practice guide you as it has guided other seekers for millennia into the luminous silence beneath sound, into the heart that never sleeps. Welcome to the path of sacred sleep and conscious awakening. I am so happy to guide you on this journey. And as we have done an overview now of what we'll learn in this course, we'll start to dive deeper into these topics. I'll see you soon.